Welcome back. Hi, I'm Tracy and welcome to my home here in Sussex, England. This week I'm going to show you how I dry my hydrangeas. Well, I've got 5 ways of drying hydrangeas, so I'm going to show you each one of those. I'm also going to show you some other things that I dry. Now, I'm always up for a bit of free home decor. I love a good forage, so come see what I've been up to.
Well, I love a hydrangea. If you're a regular to the channel, you may well have noticed any colour, any variety. I just adore them. They're such versatile plants. Big blooms, big pops of colour all summer long and well into the autumn. You can't fault them. They're easy to grow, they're easy to maintain, and they're easy to dry. Now today we're going to be looking at my Annabelle. This one here has been battered and bruised by the weather conditions that we've had just lately. It's been so windy, so rainy, and she's quite a flouncy gal, this one. Needs a lot of care and attention, and she's looking a little bit ropey. So it's time to get her sorted out. Now, when the flowers are white, that is not the time to be picking in order to dry them. But when they start turning green and they get this lovely papery texture to them, that's the time to cut them in order to dry them. And just look at the size of some of these heads. Now, this is a little one here that is not ready, but it's just starting to show signs of deterioration. So I'm going to keep a very close eye on this over the next few days and weeks and catch as many as I can before they go over like these. Before I cut hydrangeas for drying, I always make sure they're fully hydrated and not wet, so not after a shower and not after morning dew. Probably about 11 o'clock would be a good time after the dew has passed. So where do I cut? Well, quite frankly, it just depends on what you want to do with them, how tall your vases are. This one, I'm counting a couple of leaves down and I cut straight on the plant. So that way there is as little damage and stress to the mother plant, if you like, to the main plant as possible. When I then go on to prepping them for drying, I then cut again the stem at a 45-degree angle to help with the drying out process. I also cut in batches, so I think this is probably enough for this first batch.
I'm going to take them round to the kitchen courtyard. It's quite sheltered in there. There's not a lot of sun at the moment. The sun is in and out, but you don't really want to be doing this in full sun. I'm stripping off all the leaves. I like to go right up into the heads as well and take the leaves off there. Some people like to leave the top few. And then I'm going to cut the 45-degree angle on the stem. So that's the prep done, and now I promised you 5 different ways to dry them. Here is number 1, and number 1 is the simplest. It is literally choose a vase and pop them in. That is it. It doesn't get any more complicated than that. These now want to go somewhere out of direct sunlight, away from drafts, and ideally somewhere quite cool. The drying time is generally a few weeks, but that will depend upon your own personal circumstances, humidity levels, and so on. Now on to method number 2. Now we're getting a bit more complicated here. This time we're adding some water to a jar. So probably about 1 inch to 2 inches, and then again just pop them in. I don't like to cram them in, particularly with Annabelles. I find Annabelles dry better if they've got some space around them that the air can circulate around the whole head. Normally when I'm drying Annabelles, the heads are much more compact. Remember, these have been really quite badly damaged with the wind and the rain, so it's a case of they may work, they may not work, but we're going to give it a go. Now on to method number 3, the addition of glycerin. Now this is the one that I find very tricky Sometimes it works brilliantly and sometimes it's an absolute disaster. So the ratio generally is 1 part glycerin to 2 parts water. I'm experimenting at the moment with different strengths. I also forgot to bring something out to stir the water, so the blooms are doing it for me. If you've not used the glycerin before, it actually makes the petals very supple. So when you're normally drying hydrangeas, they become very papery, very brittle. The glycerin makes them super supple and the petals tend to shed less as well. So I would love to know, and I'm sure the rest of the community would love to know, have you got any tips on using glycerin? Now it's time for method number 4. And before we hang those up, let me tell you about method number 5. And it is simply leave it on the bush. Particularly with Annabelles, they dry back generally really quite well on the plant. They add such interest through winter and they're ideal to snip off and spray paint. And yes, I am popping some in the garage. Well, I do spend most of my time there. It's time now for a bit of a forage and to find some free home decor courtesy of Mother Nature. I absolutely adore the land that we've got here. It's big enough to do everything we want and small enough that we can still manage it. I let this 2-acre field grow wild. We cut pathways through so it's accessible, but I rarely cut it all the way down. Now we do have quite a lot of bracken here, and this year it's completely flattened with this wind and rain. Normally this is 5-6 feet tall and generally you can't see me when I'm walking round here. In the autumn this goes a wonderful golden colour and it's beautiful to decorate with. But we're a little early for that today, so I'm on the lookout for some different things. I'm particularly looking for things that I can dry. I do this sort of time every year, and particularly when we have a bout of dry weather, and we have had a couple of days where the rain has finally stopped. So that's a great time to get out in nature and forage for grasses, for seed heads, for flowers that you can dry. Anything that you can then add to your autumnal and your winter styling. Best part is that it's free and it really benefits your mental well-being to be out there in the fresh air. So I've gathered what I want from the field today and I'm back into the garden and I cannot remember the name of this flower for the life of me. So can you please let me know what it's called? It dries beautifully. It's on the turn now, so I'm going to cut some and I want to take all the leaves off. Now there's a super quick way to do this if you don't know. Finger thumb, drag it all the way down. Job done. Back to the kitchen courtyard to get these prepped for drying. Now these would be lovely hung from pegs in my boot room, but unfortunately my boot room is a really busy place, so they wouldn't last 2 minutes. I'm afraid we're going to have to be practical here, and they're going out into the garage where it's cool and dark. And I'm just going to bang a few nails in, a few extra nails, because I've always got nails up there. They're so useful. And I'm going to hang them out here, and within a few weeks they will dry back beautifully. In fact, they'll be ready just in time for my autumnal styling. This time of year is not the only time during the year you can be picking grasses to dry. I picked these mid-winter. Now I don't know the name of them, but I'm sure somebody told me they were called broom broom. I think they were maybe pulling my leg. I also collected lots of teasels during the winter months. Unfortunately, they are now covered in what can only be described as fluff. I made a bit of a boo-boo. So I collected all these at the same time, along with something else, which I should have separated off. This is what's causing the insane fluff that's flying around at the moment. Bulrushes. Yes, that's what's causing it. Exploding bulrushes. So my top tip, if you do go foraging, sort everything out when you get back home. Don't just shove them in a shed somewhere and forget about them like I did. So I think we can safely say that the bulrushes are beyond saving, even for me. So I'm going to wrap up the, well, I'm going to call it broom, whatever it's called, and the teasels. And then I'm going to make sure that this time I don't forget about them, and they will find their way into my autumnal, fall, winter styling. I do love the colours of these, the tones of them, but I'm not averse to getting the matte spray paint out to alter the colour, just as I'm going to do with the Annabelle hydrangea heads once they're dry. And to show you what they're going to look like, here's some that I dried last year, and they have been out all year round, perfect for every season styling. I do hope you've enjoyed this video and it's given you lots of inspiration. Let's have a chat in the comments. Thanks ever so much for being here, and I'd really love you to join me on the next video. Take care. Bye bye now.